Hey, this is Andrew Brown, and we are taking a look at the exam guide for the AI 102. And so, what I want to do is go through it and tell you where I stuck true to the exam guide and where I deviated, as not all these services are worth your time, but some of them are. And there's some additional things that I added that probably will be in future exams, but are really essential if you want to be an AI engineer. So, just understand that there are going to be some differences. I'm going to get my head out of the way so we can look at the PDF in all its glory, or sorry, HTML page, as we haven't had PDFs in many, many years. But let's scroll on down here. And so one thing they're going to note is needing skills with Python and C#. Now, we use Python for the majority of this course, and we do a really good job with it. Could you see C# examples on the exam? Yes, but if you know how to do it in Python, you can translate the skills over, so it's not going to be super hard if you do not know C#. Down below it says you should know what REST is, and we actually have to use the REST API in some cases where the SDKs are in beta or they just don't work as expected. So we will use REST APIs and we use SDKs. And with me, we always do as much programmatic stuff as we can because that's going to give you the best chance of being able to do it in the real world, but also be able to remember it for the exam. So I made sure that we do things programmatically heavy quite a bit in this course. Let's take a look at a glance. So here we have plan and manage Azure AI solutions, implement content moderation solutions, implement computer vision solutions, implement NLP solutions, implement knowledge mining, document intelligence solutions, and implement generative AI solutions. So let's take a look at the first one here, which is plan and manage an AI solution. So here they're just saying, just know what all the Azure AI services are available. Okay, and I'm just actually gonna go pull up just for a moment here, portal.azure.com, and we're going to go over to Azure AI Services, and on the left-hand side, these are all the services that are available. Now, not all of these are used, so like down below here, these ones have been reworked. Some of these just won't appear, like Personalizer, Health Insights, we're not going to see that. Immersive Reader, we're not going to see that. But there are ones like AI Search, Computer Vision, Face API, Custom Vision, Speech Search, Language Translator, Document Intelligence, also known as Form Recognizer, but they just love renaming things here. So yeah, we are going to cover the majority of them. And so, you know, I don't have a comparative section, but we go through all of these services. So by the end of the course, you should know what to choose implicitly based on what we've learned. Again, gonna get my head out of the way here. Plan, create, deploy Azure AI services. So Responsible AI. So I did some updates to Responsible AI. Not much has changed in the last few years. They have a couple extra documents, but again, not super hard to know what to do for that. Here they're talking about Azure AI services, so how to deploy it and how it would work with a CI/CD pipeline, implementing with containers. So we show you both of those. Here we have diagnostic logging. They talk about like managing keys and things like that. This stuff is pretty straightforward, so there's not a whole lot to really say about it. You know, so we don't really cover these parts in much, but again, it's just like most services, that's pretty part of the course. I'm not sure why they have that text in there. Then we have Azure AI Content Safety. Now, there is another API endpoint called Content Moderation. I can't remember if we use it in the course. We definitely use Content Safety, and Content Safety has content moderation in it, but we might end up covering both APIs, but we definitely make sure we fully cover Azure AI Content Safety. We have Analyze Images, which is under Computer Vision resource. It has its own SDK. So here we talk about generating image tags, Azure AI Vision, which is just Azure AI Vision Studio. We programmatically work with it quite a bit. Then down below, there's for analyzing videos. Now we're on to NLP, so natural language processing. So we have Azure AI Language. So extract key phrases, entities, sentiment of text, language used in text, identify identifiable information. We do this quite a bit. And one thing I want to point out is that we actually end up using in the course to set up our environment Azure ML Studios Compute, because this was the easiest place to do it. So understand that we will be using Azure ML Studio, not necessarily for deploying ML pipelines, but at least for the environments. And so we programmatically work through all of these examples very thoroughly. Then we have Azure AI Speech. These kind of melt into each other because they're very similar services, but we do this. I'm not sure if we do SSML. Yeah, I mean, I remember doing it, but the question, did I do in the AI 900 and did I carry that content over? I'm not sure. But that one's not too hard if it is missing. Then we have the translate language. It's a bit confusing because some of these services can do the same thing, or they might be utilizing the same SDK. So I recall us translating, but the question is, did we specifically use the translate language resource? I'm not sure. Then we have implement and manage a language understanding model. So this actually used to be called LUIS, LUIS, but for some weird reason, they decided to get rid of that service. It's still in here, down below here, language understanding, but now it's under the language service here, but the experience is exactly the same. Okay. The difference is that they've added Azure AI Search so that you can bring in your knowledge base from there, and you can use OpenAI to help you generate things like utterances. And so I just want to be very upfront with you that I do not go through and make labs for it again. So I have a video that will show you how to get to it. I have older videos on how to build language understanding projects when it was called LUIS. But the thing is, it's just a name change and a shuffle, and I just can't stand using the service because it is so clunky. We have slides. I'm not even sure if we shot the videos on it, but we definitely have slides in the PDF that you can download that will just show you screenshots of the updated experience. But I'm going to tell you, the old lecture content, totally fine. It will give you the contextual information that you want. It's just a name change, LUIS to language understanding, and it's now found in a different location. The same thing with this. This is talking about Q&A. This used to be called Q&A Maker Classic. Now it's just called Custom Q&A, moved under the language service, and I make it very clear how to find that in a lab that's before the lecture, and then the older lab content. Okay, we have document intelligence. So this, I believe, is form recognizer. So they gave it a different name, which is down below here. So this is something that we did before, and I believe I expanded on it in this course here by adding additional examples for Azure AI Document Intelligence, but you will see that it is just Form Recognizer renamed. We have Azure AI Search, which before was called Cognitive Search, and it really was just a full-text search engine, but now it is a vector database store and is very important when we're working with LLMs. So I gave this one extra attention because it is such a useful service. Not if you don't really like Azure AI Search, it's not that important. But if you want to work with LLMs professionally, there's just a lot of stuff that you need to know, and you're going to get full knowledge with the amount of work that I put into here. Then we have OpenAI Service. This one is about launching OpenAI. So if we go over to here, I'm just going to quickly show you. Actually, it's here on the left-hand side. We have Azure OpenAI, and so you launch this resource. This allows you to then deploy large language models. But it does get a bit confusing because there's a thing called Azure OpenAI Studio, and then there's Azure AI Studio, and they look really similar. And they do have some overlap, but they are a bit different. And I make sure to spend a good amount of time making it clear the difference between the studios and the services. Down below, we have some generative stuff like using DALL-E, using OpenAI models, all sorts of stuff. Now, something that is not in this exam guide that I definitely gave you because you absolutely should have it is prompt flow. So prompt flow is a way of, you could say multimodal, or you could say it's a way of orchestrating, coordinating multiple actions with your agents and other LLMs and things like that. But I thought it was super, super important. And even if it does not appear in your exam today, there's no way they're not going to add this in the future because it is such a powerful service. I think the reason why it's not in the exam guide right now is that it's in preview, but it's so thoroughly developed. There's no way they're clawing this service back. And so you're going to get that as an addition, and you really should study it, even if it's not in your exam, okay? But yeah, so there you go. So yeah, the only thing, again, is I was a little bit lazy with LUIS, language understanding, and Q&A, but you have the resources there from prior. You'll just have to make that translation yourself, okay? I wanted to spend a lot of time with the LLMs, and they don't really detail it very descriptively here, but I think there's fine-tuning in here as well. I didn't see it, fine-tuning. Yeah, they kind of hide these as like one-liners. That was another thing that I really did a good job on, was explaining fine-tuning and showing you how to do fine-tuning. But it's weird that they just have it as like a single line item, even though it's so darn important. But yeah, there you go. Okay. Ciao.